Exactly, this is why we need feminism. To make people less awkward and more proud of themselves so they can be filmed on camera for school projects. That's what we need. That's the meaning.
I think empowerment, right, correct, what's good.
I think of power, to be honest, and I have a lot of aesthetics on my Pinterest board that kind of go with when I think about feminism. I think about, doing things my way, and I think of not being afraid to carry tampons in the hallway, to be honest, because that's where I was at today.
As a trans male, it's a bit of a different story for me because you have to deal with the pressure of people thinking occasionally that you hate women, which is, of course, never true. If you are a true feminist, you know you don't hate women and you don't discriminate against anyone, for that matter.
It's hard for me coming from Ann Arbor, where we're kind of like, feminism is chill, guys. But I know that there are people that are afraid of the word feminism, especially outside of the scope of southeastern Michigan.
When people think of feminism, they think of it as a recent thing, but feminism has always been there, right? Like when women couldn't vote less than 100 years ago, there was a feminist uproar because, women of course should be able to have the right to vote and, be able to have the job they want and be able to live their life as not a wife or a mother, but their own person. And then when we get into the, 1990s and the 2000s, and the gay movements, right, is going on, and we get to experience all of this new culture, I also think that was also like a wave of feminism because, there was so much pride everywhere that it was just impossible for people to stay quiet about, what they were and, what they believed in was right.
I know that women's suffrage and getting the right to vote in the 1920s was really important, but I also know that was only white women, and there were a lot of white women at the time who were saying like, oh no, we don't need to include people of color, which is total crap, right? And so I don't think all women of color got the right to vote until like the 1960s, and that's so scary because I know people that were alive then.
I think that if we talk about the past century or so, I think they were probably extremely looked down upon, I read an article saying that feminism was actually a disease. People would be sent to mental hospitals if they were feminists, which I think is just insane to think about now.
They were probably viewed as very radical because it was a big thing. It's oh my god, they're saying that women are equal to men? That's weird. And people today are actually kind of reacting the same. Some people think it's a radical idea and it's really not, that people should all be treated the same.
Really, as a whole, I don't think it's that much different. I think when it was first starting out, with the first women's suffrage activists, I think they were definitely viewed on as being kind of weird and strange and crazy in a sense, and I think today it's not as much per se, but I think a lot of people still do look at us as being out of the box thinkers.
Well, I think feminism is, human. What we are here for is to make everyone's experience, loving and caring and equal, because we were not made for someone to be higher than someone else.
I think it's just wanting equality between the genders. For example, the wage gap. Having a woman being paid differently than a man, I think is ridiculous.
Really, feminism is just what's right. It's a necessity. It's equality. It's really I don't even think, obviously feminism should exist, but I don't think it should need to, you know? And feminism to me is just not needing feminism. Like, you know, like the lesbian butch women, you know, not shaving, kind of like gross women who manual labor and stuff, like the working woman. We hate men, all men should die, which I don't think is what feminism really is at all. Like, feminism is skinny women with perfectly smooth skin. Feminism is big girls covered in hair. You know, feminism is all women, and I think that when people firstly hear you're a feminist, at least the way it used to be, was like, what's wrong with you? Like, it's kind of like a gross, weird thing to be like, oh, you must be a lesbian, like, you probably don't shave. It was like a weird thing, and it's not good, you know?
I think a lot of people think that feminists are feminazis, like I said earlier. They don't really understand the difference between them, and so they might think that they're all gung-ho for women over men, and they might think that, oh, she's a lesbian, or she hates men because she wants to be above men, when really I don't think that's true at all.
I think I fit several feminist stereotypes, you know, like the butch-ish, the girl who likes girls, punk rock chick, you know. I think it's kind of just like, oh, like, of course you're a feminist. It's like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, of course I'm a feminist. All women should be feminists.
So, of course, there are some people who identify as a feminist but still have this very strong belief that if you are trans, then you must hate what you once were. So that has definitely affected me. Of course, not as much as I'm sure other people have experienced, but it still has happened.
I think it's extremely important. I think that I have been lucky enough to grow up in a place like Ann Arbor and have a community where feminism is part of most people's daily lives, but I know that there are a lot of people like who are not so lucky and who really need to fight for their rights as women. And like, I live in kind of a bubble, you know, but that's not something, I mean, I like living in a bubble, but it's not something that I'm very lucky to have. And some women aren't that lucky, and that's something that we need to change, is that you shouldn't be considered lucky to have a feminist community.
Especially with AP US government and politics, that has played a huge role in shaping my political beliefs, at least. So I don't think it's as much of an impact as in everyday life as some other people, because at least for a teenager in Saline, we're not really faced with those problems as much. But when it comes up, I'm definitely involved and interactive with that topic.
I definitely think my congregation did. I didn't really have a lot of, feminist talks with my family until I was a teenager. But as I was growing up, I had so many important figures around me that I didn't realize I had until I was older. Like, I had our church minister, Gail, who is an amazing, strong woman and stands up for what she believes in and is so charming to be around. So I definitely think she was a huge factor in finding, what feminism meant to me.
That is definitely a good thing. I mean, it's society should really realize that it's not a super radical idea, that it should be, used, and yeah.
It's not scary. It's not like you shouldn't worry if you know a feminist and they're gonna turn you into one. You should want to be a feminist if you're not a feminist. Feminism is amazing. You're empowering other women in your life, and it's empowering to be one.
What do you think society should know about feminism?
We don't hate men. Men can be feminists. women can be feminist, people of any gender expression can be feminist, people of any gender, sexuality, religion can be feminist. You don't have to be ashamed of what you believe in anymore. This is the time that you could really make a difference with what you believe in.
What do you think society should know about feminism?
That is definitely a good thing. I mean, it's society should really realize that it's not a super radical idea, that it should be, used, and yeah.
They should know that it's becoming more prevalent as time goes on. I think, especially with this generation, we're definitely fighting more for equality for everyone, whether it be for transgender, bisexual, feminists, gays, lesbians, everyone. They're fighting for equality for everyone. So I think it's going to become a much bigger problem than what people may think now.
I'm a feminist because I am a human being. Because I have a brain.
Because I want a better world for everyone.
Because people are still treated badly for no reason other than gender.
Because it's empowering, and I really like myself and really respect myself, and maybe that's narcissistic, but I believe that I deserve the best in the world, as do all other women.